Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're on a mission, really. We're looking for the ultimate gardening cheat code.
Mm-hmm.
And the source you sent over suggests we've all been looking in completely the wrong places. Forget the fancy seed catalogs, we're going straight to the spice cabinet. Our goal here is to pull out some practical, really unexpected knowledge from what looks like a very simple experiment.
Oh, it's a classic case of curiosity, isn't it?
Well,
Applying a bit of a scientific mindset to something totally mundane.
mm-hmm.
The source we're diving into is from a blog, kianm.org.
Okay.
It's a post called Notes on Gardening, Part 772. And the author, Ang, calls himself an old software plumber.
I love that.
Yeah, and that immediately tells you something. This isn't just someone casually tossing seeds around. This is someone who documents things, who's methodical.
And the star of this whole experiment is Panch Phoron, which I have to say is just delicious.
It is. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a traditional 5-seed spice blend,
Yeah.
very common in South Asian cooking.
But the truly bold move here, the thing that caught my eye, was treating this everyday spice, not as a spice, but as seed stock, as something you could actually grow.
It just turns the whole idea of gardening on its head. The assumption is you need these specialized, expensive inputs, right?
Right.
But the author is basically asking, look, if I can find a bunch of high-quality seeds in the bulk aisle of my grocery store, why on earth am I paying a premium to specialty vendors?
Okay, let's unpack where this all started. The groundwork was actually laid a little earlier in part 770 of the notes, and the idea was, well, it was shockingly simple.
Almost deceptively so.
Yeah. No complex stratification, no soaking rituals. They just scattered Panch Phoron across a germination pot. That's it.
And that simplicity is what makes this so powerful. Panch Phoron is, a mix. It's usually got fenugreek, nigella, cumin, black mustard, and fennel seeds.
A whole garden in one blend.
Pretty much. But you'd normally assume those seeds have been heat-treated or irradiated or are just, too old to be viable. The author using them straight out of the package just challenges that whole idea.
And they didn't exactly baby them either, did they?
Not at all. From the very start, the seeds were subjected to what the author calls harsh tropical elements.
During a windy January, no less.
And that wasn't a mistake. That was a stress test, an intentional one. They weren't trying to create some perfect little greenhouse environment.
No, this was about real-world resilience.
Exactly. They were trying to see if these cheap, readily available spice seeds could actually handle the reality of their specific location. The wind, the intense sun. The whole experiment was basically designed to fail fast, if it was going to fail.
It sets a really high bar from the get-go, If these seeds can handle a harsh, windy, tropical January, well, that changes everything for the average gardener without a climate-controlled setup.
It really does. It raises the stakes in a very practical way. If they sprout under these conditions, it proves they have this inherent toughness that, frankly, is exactly what a home gardener needs.
So after that pretty tough start, this is where the timeline gets kind of wild. The success wasn't just like a little bit of success. It was incredibly fast.
Astonishingly fast.
The source says that just 2 days after sowing, seedlings were already pushing through the soil.
48 hours.
48 hours. From a dry spice in a jar to a living plant. That's a remarkable germination speed.
It's a huge finding. It just confirms the biological viability of these bulk culinary seeds. It kind of debunks that whole worry that, commercial processing has made them infertile. They're ready to go.
But because the author is this methodical software plumber,
Right.
they had a ton of seeds and a need for more data, so they immediately scaled up. They launched a dual experiment, almost like an A/D test for seedlings, to see how different microclimates would change the outcome.
And that's where the methodology really shines. They set up 2 totally distinct environments. Location A was the backyard balcony.
Which they describe as the harsher microclimate.
Very harsh. We're talking intense sunlight and strong seasonal winds.
Okay, and location B?
Location B was the front yard, a much milder setup, mostly partial shade and afternoon sunlight. So the intuitive assumption, based on, every seed packet I've ever read,
Is that the sheltered, shadier spot would do way better.
of course.
Yeah.
But here is the aha moment. This is the real insight that makes this source so valuable. The balcony's harsher microclimate yielded the best results so far.
Wow.
The tough, windy, sunny spot produced the fastest, most robust initial growth.
That is genuinely counterintuitive. Why would intense sun and strong wind, the very things we're told to protect seedlings from, actually lead to better results?
It forces you to think about the seed itself, not just the plant that comes out of it. We assume seeds need these gentle, coddled conditions.
Sure.
But for a lot of species, especially ones with hard shells, a stressor is exactly what they need to break dormancy. That intense sun could be a thermal shock, or maybe the wind is acting like a natural scarification.
Like it's physically abrading the seed coat.
Exactly. It might be mimicking the natural process, tumbling around the temperature swings. That's what triggers a seed survival mechanism to say, okay, grow now.
Before conditions get even worse.
It's a forced survival response. The gentle, shaded environment might actually signal the opposite. It might say, hey, conditions are stable, I can stay dormant. The shock of the balcony is the catalyst.
So for certain seeds, gentler is absolutely not better.
Not at all. And that one finding, that environmental stress, can be a positive trigger. That alone is worth the price of admission for this whole deep dive. It changes how you think about sowing seeds from day one.
Okay, so let's shift from the biology to the practical side of things, the economics. Let's talk about the actionable lesson here for you, the listener, with that gardening itch.
Right. This experiment completely reframes how we should be thinking about sourcing seeds.
The core insight is really a critique of the whole specialty seed market, isn't it?
A powerful one.
Yeah.
The source is very clear. You don't always need to rely on seed vendors with inconsistent quality and expensive seeds. And that speaks directly to that frustration, of buying a $5 packet and getting maybe a 20% germination rate.
We've all been there. And
Yeah.
suddenly the grocery store becomes this huge disruptor.
It's a fantastic alternative, logistically and economically. I mean, think about it. A specialty packet has, 20, maybe 50 seeds?
If you're lucky.
And it costs several dollars, plus you have to wait for it to ship. Now, compare that to the bulk spice rack. The source calls it an abundance of viable seeds at an incredibly low price. You can get a whole jar of Panch Phoron, hundreds of seeds, for the price of one little packet.
It's buying by volume versus buying by branding. But hang on, I have to ask a critical question here.
Yeah.
With a specialty vendor, you're paying for some quality assurance, right? Organic, non-GMO, guaranteed untreated. Isn't there a risk that bulk spices have been treated or sterilized for food use?
That is a fair and a necessary question. But the experiment itself gives us the answer.
How so?
The fact that these seeds germinated in 48 hours, so robustly, that strongly suggests that whatever processing they went through, it did not affect their fertility. If they'd been sterilized, they just wouldn't have sprouted, period.
So the results themselves prove the viability.
Precisely. It democratizes the whole process. If you're a beginner, or you just want to scratch that gardening itch like the author says, scattering a cheap, easy-to-get blend is the perfect way in. You're turning kitchen staples into garden supplies.
Which means the entire pantry is now potentially a seed bank. And getting those seeds is as simple as walking to aisle 5.
Exactly.
So the initial experiment proved the concept. The seeds work, and a little tough love might be the secret ingredient. But the software plumber approach doesn't just stop at, hey, look, it works. The next phase is about moving from correlation to causation.
Yes, this is where it gets really scientific. The author has a clear plan for the next phase. Right now, they know something in the blend thrives, but they don't know which specific seed it is.
So it's
To buy another pack and then isolate the individual seeds by plant species.
And this is where that background in, Haskell and Python, it becomes so obvious in their gardening. They're applying this high-level technical rigor to a very low-tech hobby.
It's the perfect analogy. Think about debugging code. You don't know what's crashing the program, so you isolate the variables. You test one module at a time.
You're A/B testing your code library.
This is the botanical equivalent of that. Since Panch Phoron has 5 different seeds, isolation is the only way to figure out which one is the real champion in these specific tropical conditions.
Is it the fenugreek? Is it the fennel?
Exactly. Isolation lets them discover which specific seeds thrive in their local microclimate, which one is the hardiest, which one sprouts fastest, and crucially, it lets them accurately identify the resulting plant species. They need to know what they're actually growing so they can maximize it next time. The goal isn't just to see sprouts. It's to gather actionable data. Which part of this cheap spice blend should you buy in bulk, and which parts should you maybe ignore? It turns a simple curiosity into a documented, replicable process. That commitment to isolating variables is what turns a fun anecdote into genuine, useful gardening data for anyone in a similar climate. That software plumber is optimizing the garden.
It's a fantastic example of cross-domain expertise, making a simple process incredibly insightful. So we took a deep dive into the fascinating world of spice gardening today, all guided by the notes of this methodical software plumber. And the results are, well, pretty clear and kind of revolutionary.
They are. Panch Phoron is a successful, dirt-cheap seed source, and it's available right there at your grocery store.
And we found that surprising twist in the data, too. That counterintuitive finding that the harsher microclimate
The one with the intense sunlight and the wind?
actually encouraged the best initial sprouting results. It really forces us to question our assumptions about what seeds need to get started.
And that gentle environment isn't always the best one.
It means high-quality, viable seed stock is hiding in plain sight. It offers an abundance of plants at just a fraction of the cost. It really does turn the grocery aisle into a secret garden supply store.
And this raises a final provocative thought for you to consider. If these inexpensive traditional spice blends from the bulk aisle are providing faster, better germination than specialized, costly vendor seeds, what other common kitchen ingredients might be out there? Perhaps dried legumes or grains or other whole herbs. What else might be an unexpectedly fertile source of food or herbs for the curious experimental gardener? The potential for turning your pantry into a self-sustaining seed bank is just vast.